Dr. Kaplan, we have members of the Chatterton School Honor Guard who will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Wonderful.
So Brendan, could you cue up that video?
Yep.
Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. Good evening. We are 5th and 6th grade students from Chatterton Student Council. We are excited to be here tonight to update you on some of the wonderful things happening at Chatterton School.
Hi, my name is Jack McManus, and I am a student council member at Chatterton. The Chatterton Student Council started strongly towards our mission to help those in need, both our school and local communities. The first and biggest drive of this year was our Thanksgiving food drive. Our goal was to collect 20 boxes of food to help those families in our Chatterton community who could use a helping hand for Thanksgiving. We were extremely fortunate to have collected enough food for 29 boxes of food, which were distributed to families as well as the Belmore Merrick community covered. We were able to reach our goal and then some. We were so proud of our school community coming together to give so selflessly to our collection. We are now eager to keep that spirit by coordinating our annual toy drive this holiday season.
Hi, my name is Ariel Sammer, and I am proud to talk about the great ways our students are learning and working together in the classroom. Being able to work with our classmates is one of the most important changes that was able to take place this year. Here's a snapshot of how we work together to learn with our classmates. In ELA, students work in partnerships, small groups, and in book clubs. Students work collaboratively to read, solve tricky words, retell their favorite parts of stories, identify theme, study character traits, research important topics, and so much more. Having a partner to share your ideas with helps us to better understand what we are reading and makes us stronger readers. In writing, our partners help us edit and revise our writing by providing feedback on what we did well and some area for improvement. Not only do we learn how to improve our writing craft, we also learn more about our friends in the process.
Hi, my name is Casey Devlin, and I will be talking about other fun ways our students are learning together in the classroom. In math, students often play games together in partnerships or small groups to practice the skills they are learning in class. There are opportunities for math enrichment. Partners solve tricky math problems and complex puzzles to help us think deeper about challenging topics. Turning and talking with our peers helps us to answer questions and brainstorm ideas. Having time throughout the day to work together helps us to form friendships, strengthen our social skills, and teach us how to work cooperatively. This helps us to become critical thinkers and allows us to learn from each other and establishes a fun and positive classroom environment.
Hi, my name is James Cassano, and I'm here to talk about our 3rd and 4th grade arts integration program. The Chatterton 3rd and 4th grade students are eager to once again be combining elements of music, art, and technology into an exciting integrative arts program. This year, the students will be creating stop-motion animation projects that align with their respective social studies units. They will be using folktales as their framework to narrate, create music and Foley art scenery, and animation in a wonderful combination of cross-curricular areas. We are excited to all be able to view the final product.
Hi, my name is Zoe Zervis, and I'm here to speak about our first No Place for Hate activity. The activity is titled Who Can Be an Upstander and will take place on Friday, December 10th. During this activity, students will learn to identify the qualities of an upstander. They will learn to identify upstanders among their classmates and will understand how they can be a recognizable upstander to others. After a class discussion where we brainstorm what we already know about being an upstander, our grade K through 2 students will read The Smallest Girl in the Smallest Grade, and 3 through 6 will read the book Say Something. Both of these books will help show different ways students can be an upstander in our school. For the final activity, we will be creating our own life-size upstander and fill in word bubbles about how we pledge to be an upstander or write different things an upstander would say. All these cutouts will link hands and be on display in the main hallway of Chapter 2. We are very excited to begin our 3rd year as a No Place for Hate school.
Thank you very much to the children for that report. I think, everyone would agree, we are so proud of our children, and those reports really just show the amazing things that are going on in the school and just the great children that they are. So thank you for that. I'd like to begin the meeting with a moment of silence in recognition of National Pearl Harbor Remembrance Day and for the victims of the recent school shooting in Michigan. Thank you. I'd like to ask for a motion to approve the minutes of the Board of Education meeting from November 9th.
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. I'd like to ask for a motion to approve the treasurer's report from October 2021. Can I have a motion, please?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Like to ask for a motion to approve the statement of paid claims from November, December 2021.
Motion.
Second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that brings us to the capital project report. Always a highlight. Mr. O'Byrne.
Good evening, everybody. My report for December 7th, 2021. I've reached out to Fred Seba of BBS Architects requesting an update on the resolution of the flooding in front of Lakeside. Unfortunately, I had to leave a voicemail, but I will share his responses in my next report. During our last construction meeting, December the 1st, the contractor, Mount Olympus, informed us the long-awaited doors are scheduled to arrive this week. Once received, there will be discussion on when they will be installed. Mount Olympus claims that all the general contractors' punch list is complete. The architect has told Mount Olympus that they need to return the punch list to the architect with the date of completion shown for each item on the list. Mount Olympus has not done that to date, and no work is occurring presently at the schools. Mount Olympus subcontractors still have work to complete. The electrical contractor has panels to retrofit, low voltage wiring to terminate, and outlet covers to change. The plumber also has to raise a toilet in administration. The district's construction attorney has asked for a value of the uncompleted and unacceptable work. This report was just received yesterday afternoon. The district has sought guidance from the construction attorney as the work should have been completed in August and is still dragging on while not meeting our standards. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. O'Byrne. Dr. Palmer, are we voting on the budget development calendar, or is that just for information?
Ryan is going to just briefly discuss the development of the budget development calendar. So while it's only December and it might seem early to be discussing a budget that'll come out in May, this is when we begin the process.
Okay.
So Ryan's
Thank
going to
you.
just go over that calendar with you.
Yes, I'd love to. I just need the ability to share my screen from the host. There we go. Okay, so this is our proposed development calendar for the 22-23 budget. As you can see, the dates align with our Board of Education meetings in January, February, March, and April and May. So each meeting, we will be discussing different components of the budget. Early on in January, we'll be overviewing the budget. And as we go forward, as more components of the budget come into focus, we'll discuss them at length. And we will culminate with the budget hearing and budget vote at the end of the sheet there on May 17. And just as a reminder, this is also in the district calendar. May 12 is the PTA meeting where the candidates will be present and the public will be able to ask them questions. So this is the proposed calendar here. And as we move forward through the process, I will keep everyone posted.
Okay, thank you for that. And thanks in advance for all the work that goes into putting the budget together. So thank you for that. That brings us to good and welfare. Congratulations to Emily Campay, Birch School teacher, on her marriage to Peter Capiello. Congratulations to Ellen Finkelstein, typist clerk, on the marriage of her son, David Finkelstein, to Erica Schaefer. And congratulations to Sarah Beth Torrens, Birch School regular substitute teacher, on the birth of her son, Caleb Dominic. Great to hear good news. That brings us to hearing of visitors on items in the superintendent's report. I don't know that we received anything. We do have questions that were submitted. That will be for the second hearing. So that brings us to the superintendent's report. Dr. Palmer, do you want to give an overview of that?
Well, I just wanted to note that in one of the items, the board is accepting the resignation for the purpose of retirement from Joan DeBonis. Joan has been a teaching assistant at Birch School for a number of years, very successful career with us, and we're saddened to see her move on to retirement.
Yes, and we certainly wish her well for sure. So can I have a motion to approve the superintendent's report, items A1 through 19?
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Right. Motion to, B is administration. This is an appointment of a representative of our Board of Education to the BOCES Budget Review Committee, and thanks to Mr. Yamali for offering to take that on. So
Wait, Nancy, I'm going to be doing that.
Oh, you are? Thank you, Gina.
Yes.
Great.
Butch and I switched that. Yes.
Okay, thank you for that then. I guess we do vote on that. So can I have a motion to approve items B1 and 2, C1 through 3, D1 through 4?
Motion.
Excuse me, before you vote, with B1 amended for Gina Piskin,
Correct.
B Rep 7.
Yep. Is there a second to that?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so that brings us to the second hearing of visitors. And I first want to say that we are sorry we are not in person tonight. It was our full intention to be in person, but due to a variety of issues, it really made it very difficult to know whether or not that was going to be possible. So here we are virtually. We had, after our last meeting, talked about, really the desire and need to try and answer some questions that people are asking at board meetings. And so we're going to make an attempt to do that as best as we can tonight. So a question was submitted, actually several were, from Yana Kondak. I'm going to paraphrase and I'll just kind of direct it to the appropriate person, I think. Question is about field trips, why there are no field trips, and how money for field trips are being redistributed within the budget. Dr. Palmer, can I ask you to address that?
Sure, and I think a lot of Yana Condak's questions, if she wants some more details, she should start with the building principal, but I'll hit a couple of them. So we are planning field trips for the spring, which is when most of our field trips do occur. Some would have been fall trips, but most of them happen this spring. So we're hoping to do that. As far as the funding for field trips, we roughly have 2 field trips per class. And one is usually funded by the PTA and one is funded by the school district. Most likely that will still occur. That's our hope anyway. There will be some added expenses because as long as we continue to need to spread out kids on buses, we'll kind of be doubling the cost of transportation for any of these trips. So we'll basically use district money to support that from other sources in the district budget for both the district funded trips and the PTA funded trips. So we're looking forward to the spring. And I believe the cultural arts committees for each of the PTAs are actively looking at things for the spring.
Okay, thank you for that. There's also a few questions about volunteering for school events and curriculum. So I think those are best addressed first by the building principal. And then the questions regarding the elimination of quarantines and so forth, we're going to talk about under new business. So we will get to that. Thanks for those questions. I want to go to another email that we received from Mr. Soli Manzata regarding an alleged situation that happened in a child's classroom and the discussion of children being vaccinated or not. The questions that are being asked are teachers and staff free to discuss a vaccine on school grounds with students outside parental supervision. And then there's a few other questions along those same lines. And Dr. Palma, I know that you responded already to the question via email with an invitation for a follow-up conversation, but maybe you could generally just address how teachers are being directed to handle discussions that arise.
Yeah, so I think that discussions about vaccinations is something that I can see as will be an emerging occurrence as more of our 5 to 11-year-olds, and I guess some of our kids will turn 12 as we get out in the year, as our students more of them getting vaccinations. I think for some students, this is going to be a non-issue in their life, and they're not going to particularly be talking about in either direction. For some of those children who get vaccinated, it may be a major issue that they want to talk about. So I can see it arising, but we're asking our staff to kind of bring those, first of all, not to initiate them at all, and also try to bring those conversations gently to a close so that we don't have any awkwardness among students about who wants to talk about it and who doesn't want to talk about it, and whether it's right or wrong to talk about it. So we're going to ask our teachers, and some of our principals already started doing this, to curb those discussions.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Roth had asked a question about fully vaccinated children. I know we're going to talk about that in new business, so I'm going to put that aside for the moment. We have a question regarding Apex and the Apex teacher being out. Do we have an update on that? Either Dr. Karp or Dr. Palma?
Well, the Apex teacher is indeed out. I believe she should be back late December or right after the break. Is that correct, Dr. Karp?
Yes, that's the plan right now.
Okay, thank you. And then one of the PTA presidents submitted a list of questions, so I want to see if we could just move through these quickly. It is clear from speaking to our children that teachers and students alike are not wearing their masks at all times. If students can't wear their masks, what are the consequences? Can barriers be put back up? We've seen that the virus is spreading in schools.
So we will, as we fairly regularly do, remind everybody that masks continue to be mandated in New York State. That is a Department of Health directive but we do include mask breaks frequently at the beginning of the school year, and we have reminded staff of this. More recently, we directed that there should be at least 2 mask breaks an hour, and we continue to do that. For kids who are, there's no such thing as a kid are going to willfully not wear them, we address those like anything else. If a child has a inability to wear it, that is addressed on an individual basis, depending on what that inability is. Barriers, before the start of the school year, the CDC said barriers really have, actually it was towards the tail end of last year, barriers have no functionality. So putting them back up is really just another thing to get in the way. And they don't really have any value for preventing the spread of COVID in a classroom. I will say that in some of our very small group discussions, when for instance, a speech therapist might be working with a student who needs to have their mask off, or the speech therapist needs to have their mask off in order to succeed with the instructional goals. Sometimes we do use that barrier in between because the mask can't be there, but they're not functional for in classrooms.
Okay, thank you for that. There's a question about, can our English program be reevaluated to include weekly grammar, vocabulary, and spelling assignments? Kids are shocked when they get to 7th grade. So Dr. Karp, I'll just leave that question for you for consideration. There's a question about new subs and new hires in the buildings required to be vaccinated. Many of them have mentioned to the students that they are not vaccinated. So Dom, Dr. Palmer, do you want to just address the requirements? And,
So
yeah.
to paraphrase New York State Department of Health, everyone that works or is in a school building, in a professional staff or support staff, must participate in a weekly COVID-19 testing program. However, they may opt out of it by being vaccinated. So not all of our staff is indeed vaccinated. We're probably at about 90+%. And anyone who is not vaccinated, they test weekly and submit the results of that weekly testing to us.
Okay, thank you for that. And then the last question has to do with the threats at Lakeside. Really, and great concern. It's not okay or normal for elementary schools to have threats to the school on 3 separate occasions. We cannot allow ourselves to become desensitized. So before I turn it over to you for the question, I just want to assure, the public on behalf of the Board of Education, we are not desensitized. Safety and security is every day, all day, no matter what else is going on, the main priority. So we certainly share that sentiment. The question being asked is, what's the follow through? Do we need metal detectors at our school?
So no, we don't need metal detectors at our school. And I just want to echo what you said about these being desensitized. No, when I get the call from the main office that there's a threat, my heart races just as fast as it did the very first time in my career I ever had a threat. What's different is that we are more seasoned. We are more in tune with the Nassau County Police Department, and we have very, very strong procedures about how to react to this. So we are definitely not desensitized. Any threat to a school is way too many threats to a school. We have been working with the Nassau County Police Department. They have connected with the FBI Joint Terrorism Task Force on this issue, not because this is viewed as an act of terrorism, but that since it is a significant threat against the school, which is against the law, just making a threat, they take it very seriously. And since the calls all originated from other states, the FBI became involved because they are the bridge to law enforcement in other states. And field offices of the FBI in other states have been involved in this process.
Okay, thank you
So
for that.
we will keep on, using our connections within the Nassau County Police Department to maintain security at all times.
Okay, thank you. And if anybody has, anything, specific for the Nassau County Police Department, I do serve on the Police Commissioners Community Council. And these are the kinds of things, that we talk about. But to echo Dr. Palmer's sentiments, we have been reassured that at no time were these threats putting our children in danger. So we share the concern and, definitely are doing our very best. So that brings us to reports of Belmore Merrick Central High School District Board members. Ordinarily, Gina gives that report, but she gave me her notes.
Yes, please, if you don't, I'm just not in a
I'm
place
on.
that I can write.
Thank you, Gina.
Thank
So
you, thank you.
yeah, the first thing is the board appointed David Seinfeld to the position of interim assistant superintendent for personnel. So clearly he's no stranger to the district and we're thrilled to have him back. We honored the first female football player in Long Island history to score a touchdown. So that was a fun celebration. And we also honored the Calhoun boys cross country Nassau County championship team for their undefeated season with their second consecutive county championship. We heard a wonderful presentation about Senior Experience, which is a program that seniors in high school can take part in, which gives them experiential learning opportunity. And I will say that we are always looking for people to host our senior students. If you have a business that you run that you think students would be interested in, if you know people who might be able to provide opportunities, it's a great way to just have our young people experience what life is going to be like in the world of work. So definitely, please feel free to share those opportunities. The community cupboard now is feeding 90 families for Thanksgiving. They did, and they are feeding 90 families on a weekly basis. So it's pretty incredible what's happening. And thank you to everyone who donated. We could certainly not keep that going without the generous support of our community. There was an incredible event held this past Saturday, the Polar Express, which is not only a toy drive, but it's a day of food and games and people for people who are really less fortunate. And it's coordinated by Nina Lancey and the Belmore Lions Club. And it's just, an extraordinary event. So thank you to everyone who contributed to that as well. Is there legislation? Okay, thank
Sorry,
you.
nothing.
Okay, reports of board members. Okay, that brings us to new business.
So I don't know if we'll discuss COVID under new business or old business. I guess it's just business. So let's call it old business. And if there's no new business, I'll start then. No, okay, no new business. So I'll talk a little bit.
Going to old business.
Okay. So unfortunately, COVID is still business. We have in the last few weeks seen an increase in the number of positive cases of students and staff in the school district, more students now. Our processes to limit quarantines have generally been successful. So for each of the cases of a positive student, it's been relatively limited, the number of other kids being quarantined. As the board probably recalls, last year, if an individual student was positive in the class, we would quarantine the whole classroom. Now because of our system that we're using and everybody seems to call it a different thing, pods or teams, a small group instruction, and we are trying to keep all but kids in small groups being within that 3-foot range. By limiting that, and also because the criteria got shifted from 6 feet of separation to 3 feet of separation for student to student contact, we really seen a limited number of cases of students who have been quarantined, especially given the number of positive cases. For the most part, we're not seeing in-school transmission, except that we've had 2 cases, 2 separate cases of multiple children in the same class turning out positive. That includes a case that's going on right now. So we're watching what's happening there. A frequent question that I am beginning to get now that our students are able to get vaccinated is, will fully vaccinated students be subject to quarantines? The answer to that is no. When a child has had all their COVID-19 vaccinations and is plus 14 days, so 14 days after the last vaccination, they are no longer required to quarantine if they are in close contact with a positive case. That's New York State Department of Health rules. Their rules have no age parameters, making it any different for any age. So just like an adult, if you are fully vaccinated, you do not have to close contact quarantine. As I think our first group of students who could potentially be fully vaccinated it's probably like this week to be fully vaccinated plus 14, the ones who jumped on it in the first day. But I assume that by the time we get back in the new calendar year, we'll see a larger chunk of people. We are not, I repeat, we are not collecting vaccination information on the front end. However, if a specific child is notified that they are a close contact, the parents will have the ability to send us the documentation of their vaccinations, and then the student would not have to participate in the quarantine. We've had a great deal of discussion among the administrative team about our rules, about testing after having a positive case and testing after being in quarantine. We're going to not make any big moves right now. The discussion of eliminating the testing after a positive case is something we are very much considering, but we think that in light of the numbers right now, we need to hold off a bit on that. So we'll probably revisit that as in the new calendar year. I guess I answered the question already about staff and vaccinations. About 90-ish% are vaccinated, and everybody who's not tests weekly. I think that kind of covers our COVID for the day. I don't know if any board members have any questions.
Okay. Any other old business?
Oh, I'm sorry. I missed the vote on new business. I wanted to talk about the possibility of us forming a committee to develop a guidebook. And would any of my colleagues on the board be interested in forming a committee to come together and talk about potential guidelines and rules that we can develop, procedures for board business?
I would be interested.
And I think Gina would be interested also. So maybe that could be our committee.
Perfect.
That sounds
Excellent.
good.
Thank
So
you for that.
Thank you.
And I just have a piece of old business also. There's been a lot of talk in the community in recent weeks about bicycling and safety. And so, you know, coming with the holidays and kids being off from school, I think it's just a good reminder for all of our children just about being, you know, safe. And just a reminder for all of us just to be extra cautious as we're driving through the neighborhood. So just a little piece of information there. Any other old business? All right then. So I just want to, before we adjourn, just I think on behalf of the Board of Education, just want to wish everyone in the community a happy and healthy holiday season, filled with, you know, everything that you want, and joy and peace and family time as well. So motion to adjourn.
I need the board.
Oh, sorry, motion to adjourn into executive session for the Board of Education.
To
for the
discuss an
purpose
individual
personnel.
personnel.
Yep.
Motion.
Second.
Second.
aye.
Okay, good night, everyone.